Hello everyone, this is Fox. I'm just dropping in at the beginning of the episode to let you know that there is some mention of sexual assault. And this happens from around 17 minutes to about 27 minutes. If this is something that bothers you, this is an area of the episode that you're going to have to skip. Otherwise, I think this episode is excellent, and I really do hope that you enjoy.
CritCast! Hello and welcome to yet another episode of CritCast, or CritCast.
Yeah, depending on how you
here.
pronounce it.
Yes, and I've made this joke twice now. It's such a good joke, we have to make it twice.
Yeah, I know. In the little jingle, I had to change it because I would normally say CritCast, and then it's actually, because it wouldn't fit in with everyone else otherwise.
So, my name is Rachel, as you no doubt know by now.
And I'm CuppaJoey. Yes, I'm CuppaJoey, which
CuppaJoey.
you may well know me from my silly little internet videos if you watch them.
I hope so, because they're really good and you should check them out.
Thank you, it's very kind.
That's a preemptive plugging right there.
Plug, yeah, might as well get it in straight away. But we were talking about it's interesting that we started off talking about it's CritCast or CritCast because we are going to be talking about language and how...
Yeah, that's a good segue,
how that affects gender. So it seemed like a little joke, but hey, it's just smoothly transitioned.
Actually, yeah.
Transition. Okay, yeah, this is just going to be puns. You thought you were getting something serious, you're getting nothing.
Yeah,
right.
It's funny too, because I make puns all the time. And the day before yesterday, I appeared on Kevin Logan's podcast.
Yes, which everyone should check out as well. Everybody should have a look at that if you haven't yet.
And he complimented me on coming up with puns in a second language. But I do that all the time, so I'm kind of hesitant to comment on it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is quite cool when you realize that you're able to do that. That's one of the fun things.
It does make me feel like, that's a cool flex, I guess.
But
then again, English. But then again, English is just so common in the West, Western Europe in general, and I don't know. Even in if you go over to Scandinavia or whatever, everyone speaks English there perfectly.
Definitely. Like the interesting thing that I found is when I went to Denmark, because one of the reasons that we decided to talk about this is that I love language and I speak a lot. But when I went to Denmark, because normally when I go to a country where I don't speak the language, I will have kind of a base knowledge of other languages to kind of be able to figure out certain things. And then when I was in Denmark, I noticed that it was actually more similar to English than any of the other languages that I knew. And that was really interesting to me. I get that because it's like my language. Or, interestingly enough, some kind of northern dialects, like barn being child and bairn is kind of a northern slang for kid. So, that was like a little interesting thing. But we're not going to talk about interesting little friends. We're going to be talking about transness because that's our whole spiel. It's transness in language.
How many, just to start off with, just as an interesting little fact, I guess, how many languages do you know?
Oh, that question. Fluently, I would say 6. English is my first, and then fluently I speak German, Spanish, Brazilian, Portuguese, Mandarin Chinese, and British Sign Language. But I can get by in the odd bit of French and Japanese and a bit of Thai.
你说中文吗？
对，1个年我住在厦门，所以我说普通话。But I'm not going to overload the listeners with that. One of the reasons that I really wanted to start talking about this is that one of the things that I've noticed crop up with a lot of transphobes, especially TERFs, that are from other countries, I noticed this with Brazilian transphobes and German transphobes, is that one of the kind of excuses that they'll make to not respect, especially non-binary genders. Let's talk about that specifically because there are often ways to gender between male and female in different languages, and they can accept that. But when it comes to non-binary genders, they'll often say things like, well, in my language, we gender everything as male and female. So if you're asking me to do something different, that's xenophobic. You're just being racist against me and my language. And it's
I've seen that a lot. Yeah.
Is that the case, though? Is that really the case? Because
no,
not at all.
well,
the short answer is no.
No, because if we're gonna run with that idea, with that concept, then we would have to respect lots of really cringy far right bullshit as well.
Yeah,
because the far right bullshitters could just say the same thing. They could be like, well, my thing is that in my culture, my white culture demands that I treat everyone as either a breeding machine or I don't know,
either the incubator or the inseminator.
Yeah, inseminator.
And that made it sound way cooler than I intended. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but then you would have to respect those kinds of beliefs too. So, and that's just not the road we want to go down, in my opinion. That's the hard no for me.
Yeah, because culture definitely comes into it. In that, if you for example, I was speaking about Brazil before, and I'm going to use Brazil as an example a lot because my wife's Brazilian, so I speak Portuguese quite often.
You speak Portuguese?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
that's just me gonna be like, wow, that's cool. Wow, that's
everyone's
you're probably gonna hear that more often. Yeah.
No, but
although just to clear things up, I speak my native language is Dutch, and my my second language would be English, I'm pretty sure, and I'm also pretty fluent in German. And I have basic knowledge of Mandarin Chinese.
Your Chinese is coming along really well. I'm just gonna say, you are doing really well. So
yeah. Thank you.
I'm gonna so with Portuguese, when it comes to binary genders, we do have phrases like não binário and género, to talk about xenogenders and non-binary identities. And while I have seen so many, especially as we've got Bolsonaro, who is now the president of Brazil, who is he's if you don't know Bolsonaro, he is known as the Trump of the tropics. So that gives
Trump
you
of the tropics.
Yeah, that was a good idea. He actually did a little interesting thing, is that he did meet with Elliot Page a few years ago. And at the time, Elliot was saying, look, I'm attracted to women. You were saying that people should be beaten out of homosexuality. Do you think that I should have been beaten to stop me from being attracted to women? And then he flat out says, no, but I would catcall you because you're attractive. And it's like, what kind of a freaking answer is that? So he's currently in power in Brazil at the moment, and as a result,
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's just it's going to shit. It's all going to shit. But
no. Did you ever go there, by the way, to Brazil?
I have been to Brazil. I have actually been to Pride in Sao Paulo, just before he got into power, and so I do have quite a few trans and queer friends in Brazil.
Oh wow.
And so this is why I know a little bit about the non-binary genders and how they work in Portuguese. And the thing that gets me is because of Bolsonaro, there's now been this huge increase in far right ideas, in that the people that would have had those thoughts quietly, they're now more open about them.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I've noticed as well. It's really sad, honestly.
Yeah, even my father-in-law, when he got into an argument with my partner about how bad Bolsonaro is, and she was going, well, look, he's homophobic. He said, yeah, well, so what? I'm homophobic too. And it's like, and your daughter ended up with a fat queer trans guy. That must suck, mate. So the thing is that they will say, and I feel like this huge increase in transphobic messages, particularly in Brazilian Portuguese, that will come up, that will say, or even in English when they'll come to us and say, well, in my language there isn't any room for that. That's just not the case, because I know Brazilian people that use the pronoun elu, because the male pronoun is ele, and then the female pronoun is ela for just he and she. I'm not going to go into like the object and possessive pronouns. We don't need to know that. So they go with elu, which is like changing the vowel sound at the end to make something that is neither male nor female. So to say, oh, it's not possible, it's bollocks. It's bollocks. Yeah. I mean, even look at neopronouns in English, like she, shem, that we've got. I've known many people that use the pronouns she, shem, and that's relatively new. I don't know when it was first used, but it was something that I was unaware of until recently.
That also kind of gets back to like when people say like, well, singular day is not very that's not a thing in English, and then you bring up like like Shakespeare using singular day, and it's like, and they'll always find like a different excuse, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you search hard enough, like I think language is a lot more complex than people make it out to be. I mean, people have been around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And they have adapted language for like a very long time. It's very more flexible than people
exactly. I mean, and if you don't mind me using for example a discussion of slurs for just a moment.
Sure.
Like if we look at the F slur, first of all, FAG, I'm not going to say it just in case it hurts anybody listening, but that, before it was a homophobic slur, was originally meant to be like a dowdy old woman. And before that, it was meant to be like, I think, a farmhand that wasn't any good at his job. So meanings of words are always changing and new words are always coming in. I mean, especially when we look at, for example, selfie, photobomb. These are words and phrases that have come about as we found a need for them,
Yeah, that's very interesting because, I follow music a lot. I'm a musician, and particularly like metal music. I'm very into because I play in a metal band. Like,
cool.
Blah 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 blah. And that's like another episode altogether that I'm gonna do with DJ Cthulhu. But
I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to that.
Yes. But one piece of like drama, I guess, that erupted in the Dutch metal scene was when the singer of a Dutch metal band called what was it called again? I forgot the name. It was like a Dutch death metal band.
Oh, is it that guy that said that he thought that he was death reincarnated or something? Or am I thinking of a whole different thing?
I forgot the name. I'm so bad with names. Why?
You're fine.
But it basically this guy said one kind of metal publication they ran his Dutch Facebook comments through like Google Translate, and it came out that at one point somebody saw his profile picture and they commented like, "Hey, you look like this black guy," and then he replied, Are you suggesting I'm an N-word?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, not the best.
But his excuse was that in Dutch, the N-word, I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah, of course.
In Dutch, that same N-word, he says like, he argued that, well, that doesn't have like the same implication, it doesn't have the same harshness to it as English. But of course, it does have the same connotation to it. It's just
absolutely.
that in terms of culture, American culture is just way more prominent, and that like the fact that it's not as harsh in Dutch, it just has way more to do with just
like the history.
The way Black history indeed, and also the way the sort of culture spreads, I guess.
And I feel that that's where the language kind of evolves and comes into it, in that the culture definitely influences, in that I don't want to say that English is very accepting towards trans people. I mean, if we talk about the English language, we can definitely adapt it as much as possible. But of course, there is going to be that pushback, as there is, a lot of people like the language that they grew up with. And so when it changes, it's like, oh, you kids are using it wrong. That's why there are so many like sort of okay boomer kind of memes as well. This was something I actually looked at years ago, in that people don't like when language changes, and so it could be that kind of resistance to change that comes into, why should I call you she, shem? Because you should just be using they, them, and it's good enough that I'm using that, as opposed to, what's wrong with just trying to use another pronoun.
Yeah, and of course you get into like a whole other topic of like trying to humoring the trans person.
Yeah.
That's another like toxic thing altogether, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because like, if you're purely using pronouns for a trans person just to humor them, that's then that's still very transphobic. It's not. And when you imply that the pronouns are something that you can just revoke, that you're being transphobic. That's just the bottom line.
It's one of the things that I've seen, like with and I hate to bring her up, but Jessica Yaniv, that
oh god,
a lot of people will misgender and dead name her and say, oh well, she's a predator, so she deserves it. And it's like, well, as soon as you say, what we could all agree that sexual predators are bad. That's just something that we could all say, yes, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you say, okay, so bad trans people deserve to be dead named and misgendered, where do you set the bar? Are you just saying, oh, it's if they're murderers, it's okay? Well, what about one that then killed in self-defense? It's way too complex. So you really need to put your foot down and say, Jessica Yaniv, she is an awful person. You're not humoring her by calling her by the right name and pronouns. It's just like, who she is.
Horrible women exist. Yeah. And so what?
Yeah.
like that also comes down to something that TERFs like to do.
Oh, absolutely. That was exactly what I was thinking, actually, Rachel.
Yeah, they have this idea, and you see this on Mumsnet a lot too.
Yeah.
Like they have this idea of like keeping the females pure or something like that. Because like when they get into like crime statistics, they're always like, well, we can't be sure if it was actually a real female because it might just be a trans woman. It's like, okay, what the fuck does it matter? Like,
and like, that implication
comes back to the whole phrenology.
Any female criminal has to be trans. It's just that implication as well. And also, like, I've seen similar things in that a while back, I think it was like about 10 years ago, there was this paedophile ring that was sort of uncovered in the UK, and it was mainly women, that was a huge shock. But the thing is that when you bring that up as a kind of hey, cis women do this stuff too, they always say, yeah, well, she was sending those pictures to a man. And it's like she was still
definitely
doing the abuse and taking the pictures of the abuse. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter who the recipient was.
Unlike a more personal note, like I've actually been sexually assaulted by a cis woman.
Yeah.
When I was underage. So like when I was like early teens, I think.
Yeah.
And just whenever the topic comes up, it just it's just really close to home. Just because of that sort of thing.
I definitely understand.
And if I don't want to make it all about that because it's really personal. But
no, of course not. You're not at all.
but this it wasn't. So many people will think like it's okay, like on Kevin Logan's podcast we talked briefly about like Greer Germain.
Yeah.
Jermaine
Oh
Greer,
God.
whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
And
No. I'm very aware of
she's
her,
also,
unfortunately. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. She does a lot of work in
she's
the
been
UK.
pretty
She's.
open.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty open about like her pedophilic tendencies,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
saw
she wrote a whole
those.
book about it.
Yeah.
And and a lot of times when you talk about these sort of things, then people will always kind of make it out as like an accident or like either that, or they'll say indeed what you said, like, well, boys like it,
Oh
boys
yeah, yeah,
boys
absolutely.
will think
This
it's
idea of
fine.
where were all the paedophile teachers when I was a boy?
Yeah.
All those
Or
comments,
it's
which is like you don't know what it's
like, well,
like to be taken advantage of, and
yeah,
that's what
and
it is.
or if it's like, well, this pedophile woman might have existed, but they wouldn't have like the same tenacity of like a pedophilic man. But and in my mind, I always think like the woman that was sexually harassing me, she came from like from a different country just to visit me.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
just to visit me, just to get close to me, just
mm,
to,
yeah,
sexually
yeah,
assault me. And it was just really dirty. And
yeah. Of course, yeah.
and I had like a big, well, not a big, but I had a friend group back then, and I was still kind of processing what had happened back
Mm,
then, and I had a friend who I was pretty close with, and they were from that same country that she was from.
mm.
And I remember, like, at one point, she had also contacted him and was doing the same things. And he was even younger than me.
Oh
So
gosh, yeah.
that was a regular thing too, like
Yeah,
she
yeah,
would
of
get in touch
course.
with
Yeah,
underage.
they often do play it off as like, oh, it was a mistake. I didn't realize I was going through a difficult
Yeah,
time and I thought that hurting this kid would make it better, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then I kind of got like a message out of the blue, like that she was also harassing him pretty much. And at that point, that really set it in my mind as like, yeah, she is really,
Like you were one of
yeah,
her victims. Like
yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
just
Then
this
it
one
really like,
situation. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of course. Yeah, because that's a
that's
problem as well, is that it's one of those things where if you're on the outside looking in, you could be like, yeah, that's assault. But when it's happening to you, you're like, well, was I really that against her? Was I,
yeah,
maybe I gave her the hint that it was okay.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. You really start to doubt yourself, and that's
absolutely.
really
Yeah,
hard to
yeah,
explain.
I've definitely been
It's
there. Yeah.
you really think to yourself like, well, was this consensual? And indeed, yeah, just like what you said, like, yeah, did I give her like the signals that it was okay with this?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
did she do it like multiple times? Like, why was she so persistent? Why was she so aggressive?
Yes, yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, that shit not fly.
No, no, and the thing is that I'm actually gonna make us go like full circle now, because like the thing is that with podcasts it always goes off topic. We always go
No,
from
please do, because
yeah.
I don't want it to get too dark and
No, no, I'm gonna make it go
personal.
even darker for a second. No, you're fine.
Oh no.
No, but I'm gonna go like kind of round full circle, and that if we kind of this is gonna sort of like veer around back to language again. Because
Uh-huh.
I about 2 years ago now, so I was still like I was about 1 year into my testosterone treatment, so
Hmm.
my voice wasn't as deep as it is now. Fat displacement had only just started. I wasn't really. I was kind of starting puberty at the age of 24, and
Yeah.
and I went to a chemist to get a prescription for. I had an ear infection at the time, so like I was miserable. I was in pain. It was horrible. And I just wanted to get this prescription. And this woman, like, when I said
Andrew Smith,
that being my name, which, you know, I'm fine being out there, it's a very common name, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, when I said
careful.
that, yeah. And when I said that, she just looked at me like, sorry, yeah, she said, "Is that you?" Which really took me aback because I picked up prescriptions for my dad before. Like, all you need to do is give the name, occasionally the date of birth, and the address.
Yeah,
that's
a common.
Exactly. So, like, I've picked up prescriptions for family members before. Like, it's not a problem. So when she said, "Is that you?" I was a bit taken aback, but I said yes, just because I was in pain. I wanted my medicine. I wasn't gonna start an argument over that. And then she walked around, and that was when I was assaulted by her because she didn't believe that I could have the name Joseph. And after that, when I sort of, because I shouted at her, I like, "Why are you touching me?" And I started to have a panic attack. And then she went back and cried, and she was comforted because this horrible queer thing was screaming at her in the pharmacy. Never mind the fact that she had just sexually assaulted me and groped me without my consent, all because she believed that I couldn't have the name. Like, she seemed to believe that, like, she was just checking that I was male.
God. Yeah, what?
And that was in a healthcare situation, right? Yeah, and that was in a healthcare
Yeah.
situation. And
wow, that's
yeah, and when I actually wrote a letter of complaint to, like, the head office saying that I was just assaulted, what the hell? And there is a police report and everything about this because I went the proper means, and of course they didn't take it seriously, so there you go. But when I contacted head office and said, you know, look, I was assaulted, what the hell? They came back and said, "Oh, we've spoken to her and she just wanted to make sure that you were getting the right medicine and that you were getting the right healthcare you needed, and that she was actually being good by doing that." Yeah. And it just, it just astounded me.
Does she do that to every patient? Normal proceedings for them? Like, what?
And just like, what's this? You need eye drops, right? Bend over, let me have a check. Yep.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just
creepy.
It just,
creepy
it shocks me not only that, because, like, when talking about that, you're thinking nobody should be assaulted when they're going to go and get healthcare treatment. But in that situation, everyone seemed to sort of agree, like, well, she was just checking that you were getting the right healthcare. What's the problem? Yeah. And it just astounds me, you know.
They'll just always side with, like, the cisheads, you know,
absolutely.
Situation.
The funny thing as well is that I remember, like, panicking about it, and a guy came out from the back and he goes, "Listen, I'm gay and I didn't see anything bad with that." And I said, I said, "Are you trans though?" And he went, "No." And I went, "Well, exactly."
Well, then shut the fuck up.
It's like, look, I wouldn't mind having my balls cupped if it meant that I could, you know, like, what kind of a freaking thing is that to say?
You know, good luck. Just okay, then he can be the first in line with her, and leave you the fuck alone. You know?
Yes. Okay. All right, I'll bring you with me then, and you can be the the guinea pig each time.
Yeah.
You know,
cis people.
But yeah, it is the fact that, you know, the fact that she would look at me and think, this is somebody who cannot have a male name. And that is what I think is then what influences the whole language thing and all of that. Like, in Chinese, I have a very male name. Because the thing is that, and this is a simulation, when I went to China, I had to get a Chinese name in order to sign up with immigration, in order to sign up with university. Like, it was a legal thing I had to do, just so that people don't think I was like, "Oh, I like China, I got a Chinese name now." Like, no, it was something I legally had to do. So I chose the surname
Smith,
because, like I said, it's my surname. And I picked the first name, Zhaolong, which means flood dragon, which is cool. Because long meaning dragon, is a very male name. And when I would say that was my name, a lot of the time they would think, oh, you just didn't realize that was a male name.
Oh.
And yeah, because like when I was in China, I was pre-HRT. I mean, but like the thing is that like I've always kind of had high testosterone. So I've always, so like even when I was pre-HRT, in some situations, I managed to like pass as a cis guy, which was weird.
How was that, by the way? Like in China? Okay, like full disclosure. Even though I'm learning Mandarin, I've never been in China or any Chinese speaking region.
No, I only went because it was part of my degree. In the because I had I had my university.
It sounds pretty good having money.
well,
I'm totally not jealous.
Well, it was one of those. I'm gonna make it dark. It's one of those situations where I wouldn't have been able to afford to go had my grandmother not died the year before. But dying is probably the best thing she ever did in her life. She was she was an awful woman. Is all I'll say. So
well, that's fortunate.
Yeah. So. I've not laughed so much since Grandma died. And so I was very lucky, and it was quite interesting because I was living over there with like the mindset of a poor person, like I'm only going to spend this much on food, I'm only going to spend this much on electricity, right? Okay, my rent's sorted for the year, so now I've got, budgeting. And I was with a load of like really rich assholes who just didn't know, like, Joey, can I have like 1,000 kwai to go out for the weekend? And I'm like, nah, piss off, mate. Just stuff like that. Like, can I borrow this because I can't be asked to go to the.
Where did you live? If I like Beijing or?
It's called Xiamen, which is it's an island. It's near Taiwan. It's sort of closer. It's sort of between the mainland and Taiwan. It's closer to the mainland. But the thing is that like one of the campus was actually right just on the mainland. So it's actually just on the mainland, but I would like take buses to the islands, like if I wanted to go out for the day. Like it was an interesting setup. But
shall I? Just another personal thing of mine, like. Taiwan is like on my bucket list, and for places to go.
Interesting thing, I actually I speak Chinese with the Taiwanese accent.
Oh really?
Yeah. So like, if I was gonna say that one, or this one rather, I would say 这个 as opposed to 这个
and 一个.
Say with a ts sound as opposed to 这个.
Oh yeah.
Because like 这个 is what they say up north, and then 这个 is what they say down south. So little tidbit there. And because of where I was, I kind of picked up the accent just because you're speaking it every day. You're speaking it the same way everyone does. So,
you can also read traditional, or
no, I can't read traditional at all. I can only read simplified. Just like English, I can only read simplified. But yeah, and so yeah, I would often get people assuming that I just that when I was gendering myself as male, that I had just misunderstood language. And
what do you think? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just very curious. Like, what is the perception? Because there's like an entire market out there. If you go onto YouTube, there's like so many like YouTube videos that have like millions of views of just people speaking, just usually white people or black people sometimes, speaking in like fluent Chinese.
Oh yeah, people don't expect
usually.
it. Yeah. Like straight up.
And then really this banking off of the surprise effect.
I could do that, but I feel like I would just be like profiting off of white privilege, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like that. Huh?
Yeah, no.
Like, did you experience that a lot? Like,
I did have it recently. I get it more here because, like, obviously, if you're in China and you're speaking Chinese, they're like, okay, you're here, Although if you do speak it well, then they will kind of be like, oh wow, you speak it like fluently, and you're not just saying hello in broken ways,
Like me.
You're doing really well, Rachel. You're doing really well.
Oh.
And there is a Chinese owned hairdresser's just around the corner from me. And when my wife wanted her hair done, she was like, "Could you come and ask me and help?" Especially because she's autistic as well, so she like feels more comfortable with me asking. I think the pipes in my house are humming. I'm so sorry, Fox. You're gonna have to edit this. I just hear this. Wee! Like,
that's fine.
No. So,
that's easy peasy.
Yeah, and I went round and like I messaged them on Facebook like, "Oh, can you do this hairstyle that she wants?" And they were like, "Yeah, okay, here's the appointment. Okay, sorted." And then when I went, I just sort of explained like, "Okay, she wants it long here. She wants this part short." And just like explaining what kind of hairstyle she wanted, and all she went was, 你会中文? Like, oh my god, you speak Chinese. And I'm like, yeah. Like, that was it. That was all she had to say. You speak Chinese. Like, yeah. So yeah, definitely
my reply would be 一点一点点.
I always say mama hoo hoo. It's just like, it's all right. And it's always good to kind of like
that's way more professional actually.
If you're like, oh, it's all right, then like it makes you seem better as well because of the whole humbleness. But yeah, and over there in response to me being trans, I did like the first time the teacher was like trying to go like, oh, there are so many boys and so many girls, and then I was like, fuck this, because I was in my done stage of transness. Like I had been fighting for HRT for years, and I was like, they said, oh, you can have it once you're back from China because it's going to be too difficult to like get you the prescriptions there. So yeah, so I was in my done stage. I was like, no, I'm a boy as well. And the teacher looked at me and was like, no, you've misunderstood. And then it was only when like some of the classmates went, no, he is male, she just looked at me and then she was like, oh, okay. That was it. Like, oh, I just need confirmation from a few sissies, and then we go. Yeah, and like another,
but like, is it like a big deal over there?
Yes and no, in the sense that they think that queerness in general is like a purely Western thing. Like there's this idea that, oh, it's just for foreigners, like we don't do that here. And like I even had somebody tell me like, I saw two foreign men kissing and I took a picture. And it's like, why? Don't do that.
That's kind of creepy.
I mean they'll I had my picture taken just for being a white person, like that they saw that. No. Like it's a thing. Apparently, like in Chinese social media, it's like they say there's this thing that's like the hashtag foreigner in China, and they said that it's basically as interesting as people like taking pictures of their food. Like everyone will come across someone. It's just not interesting.
Yeah, that's I saw like so I did like a lot of investigating about like Taiwan because I want to go there.
Yeah, of course.
I want to live there, but so there was like one short little like section of interviews in Taiwan on like a market. Mm-hmm. I have no idea who conducted the interview, but and they conducted like, and one of the people was like a white old lady, and the comments underneath the video were like, "Whoa, like that foreigner lady sure speaks very well Chinese," and like every comment was like that.
Yeah,
like, well,
so why?
Well, she is an old white lady. She probably lived there like for a pretty long time.
Yeah, exactly. Like my kind of rule in that if I notice like a language breakdown, like between two people where they can't communicate, and I can understand what the situation is, I have like a rule of 3, which is like if they try 3 different times to get this message across and it's not understood, then I step in. Because I feel like if I step in before that, then it's presumptuous. And I did have it in a pharmacy where I had to explain like that it was buy one get one free on vitamins that they just weren't understanding, and I was treated like a freaking superhero, even though I was just saying like, she just saying that you can get that one cheaper if you want another one. Okay, thanks, and then I like shuffle back.
I had one situation and I thought it was really cool. It was weird and kind of uncomfortable, but really cool. But like last New Year's Eve, I was like at a friend, and he was also having like some friends over who I didn't know of, and basically I was kind of like just talking about, because I'm really like a language geek, you know.
Oh,
that's also
we probably think about.
That's also the reason why we're talking right now, is because we're both just language geeks, I guess. And basically my friend who also plays drums in my band, he was we were talking about counting in like different languages. There were like a few Russian people there. So a good friend of mine, she wants to learn Russian, and I'm like, well, somebody needs to learn her how to just basically count in Chinese or in Russian.
Yeah.
And so my bandmate then goes like, well, can you count in Chinese then? So I'm like, okay, it's flexing time.
Oh yes.
So I'm going like 1、2、3、4 and the entire thing, and then like a different friend from the corner of my eye just comes in, and she goes like, actually, your tones are a little bit off on the, and I'm like completely flustered, and I'm completely like just in silence, and she goes like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you off, like I didn't mean to be impolite. And I'm like, no, not at all, like I just don't get to speak to Chinese speakers a lot. Like I'm just really flustered, like. And it turns out he was actually from Beijing, and he was like a language teacher here.
Oh,
so that's really cool.
Yeah, I actually had a similar situation at like a freaking work party a while ago. And one of the partners of the company that I work for is German, and so he kind of like likes to show me off a bit at these functions as like the German speaker. And one of the people from our German office came over, and I was talking to her in German, and she was talking to me. And,
du kannst ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen.
Ja, natürlich. Also, yeah. I won't talk more because I'm like, wait, no, this is a podcast and it's just gonna be unfair on everyone else. But I did German at university as well, and so that's what I actually use most at work. So it's interesting. I use like more German at work than Portuguese at home. Like it's like a big multilingual mix in my life.
That.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's just everything that I wanted out of life, to be honest.
Yes.
And I was talking to this this woman, and she was like, oh yeah, like you speak German really well. When did you learn it? So I told her, and she's like, oh yeah, I learned it this place. And then I went, oh wait, you speak German as a second language? I thought you were native. Like, it's really good. She was like, oh yeah, I'm actually from Spain. And I was like, no lo sabía que eres de España. And it's just like, what?
Wow.
Like, it is kind of like one of those haha, you've activated my trap card.
Yes.
with the languages. Like, yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
It does.
That's actually kind of on my list too, which I'll probably never get to, but I do want to get to Spanish at some point. Spanish seems very useful.
Yeah, Spanish is definitely useful, and I don't think that the grammar is that bad. It only gets difficult when you're talking about hypotheticals, and then it can get a little bit confusing. But that's the only thing.
Actually, unironically, I think Chinese Mandarin has really good grammar.
Oh, absolutely!
I really love it.
Absolutely, that is the one thing I say is that people will say to me like, "Oh, which is it harder to learn, German or Chinese?" And then I'll just be like, "That's asking what's harder to make, a coat or a ladder." Like it's just two totally different things. You can't compare because of how you have to learn them, and that German grammar is bloody horrible. It really is.
German grammar is so annoying. I hate it.
Yeah. Like
you should just learn. Every German person should just speak Dutch. I think, because Dutch. Okay, but Dutch is basically German, but without the stupid rules. It really is.
So like simplified and traditional again.
Yeah, it's a simplified German. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's really just what it is. Like, you don't have the stupid capitalization of the letters.
Yeah.
You don't have like the 5 million like D there.
Oh, articles, yeah.
Fucking hate that.
Like, I just say to people, there are 32 different ways to say and the, and then their face just kind of like goes.
Yes.
Oh, but interestingly, like I'm gonna make it gendered again because cool. One thing that I was thinking about, interestingly enough, is that it's kind of it can be a little bit difficult to misgender somebody with pronouns in Chinese, as you'll probably know, in that when you speak, he, she, or I guess it, or the gender neutral pronoun as it's also used, is just ta. Like that's it. Yeah. Like you will not know that somebody is misgendering you until they've written it down.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah,
so in that sense, like I could go around and people would just call me Ta, and then I'd be happy because I don't know whether they mean she or if they are actually gendering me correctly, which is really neat. But one thing that I've noticed, say, and I don't speak this language, I've just seen this from like little trans memes where people were talking about their own languages, is that in Hebrew, I think, like I and you are gendered. So you cannot, like, somebody cannot talk to you without gendering you.
That's
right. And so that's just because there was this you know, like there was this thing that I saw. It was about when somebody got gender euphoria because they had to go and get some medicine for their dead name, and then like the person said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but you," and then like the female version, because it was a trans woman, can't get it for him, male, male, you know, and so like she was like getting gender euphoria because she was like, oh no, that actually is me, but realizing, oh my goodness, you is gendered, I would cry. Oh, you know, that's just one of those, because that's the thing is that language.
Did you also not say that you speak Japanese?
Oh, I have a GCSE, so I know very basic Japanese, but you know, like
I was gender in that actually.
Yeah, and like if I was sort of airdropped into Tokyo, I'd probably survive. Like just
airdropped,
just like
just in your cup, like with a parachute attached. You know, like
you just see the coffee go up.
Yes, but how is gender in Japanese?
The only thing is that the only time that I've noticed gender come up, and again, like my Japanese is very basic, so I might be talking a certain amount of bollocks here. Is
do the symbols exist for that? And like the ta symbols, do they exist in Japanese or?
Well, the pronouns are different in that there are a lot of gendered pronouns. So, for example, like when you say watashi, like that's I, and that's gender neutral, you know. But if I wanted to make the point that I'm male, I could say boku as opposed to watashi, you know. So you can gender yourself to a certain extent. But from what I've seen, I don't actually know if there's like a feminine version of that, or you know, because watashi is gender neutral, and it's just what everybody uses, like I or me. But I have seen the gendered you know, I first person pronouns. And also I've seen like that guy, that girl as sort of gendered as well, like instead of him, her, it just sort of tends to be the person. But another thing that I noticed, which I don't know. Again, like my Japanese isn't great, so I don't know whether this would be as much
Probably
of a
better
problem
than
or
mine
not.
because I don't know anything.
But you have the san. Like if I refer to you in Japanese, I would call you Rachel-san. Because it's the polite thing to do. But then there's also chan if it's a girl and kun if it's a boy. So if somebody could say kun for a woman without realizing, and then they've been misgendered. So it is possible. Yeah. I think it is possible. Again, the whole thing, and I think that it is seen this way within Japan as well as China, and that this is the impression that I've got, is that, like, gayness is a Western thing. Like, it's just what the foreigners do. And the interesting thing is that I actually have a cis gay friend who went to like the same university as me in China, but like the year before I did. So even though, because it was like a kind of, our university was linked with their university, so I knew him from England, and then we actually met briefly in China as well, like while I was going there just before he came back. So he had like a similar experience to me. But
how are you exposed to Cantonese? Just curious.
Oh, when I was a kid, I was 7, and I had a crush on this little girl in my class who was from Hong Kong, and I wanted to talk to her, so I started to learn Cantonese at like
at 7 years old.
At 7 years old, and we did hold hands and have a little kiss behind a tree. So it worked out for my very little innocent child self. So yeah, and I think it was also partially because like she had a translator that was writing stuff down, and when I was looking at the words, I was like, oh my god, that's amazing, and I'm pretty sure that I don't know whether it was her or the language that I had a crush on at this point.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, it was a very sweet, like little innocent childhood crush that turned into like a language obsession, which I think is quite cool. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
Yeah.
But Cantonese is like, it's like kind of like black magic to me.
It's Chinese on hard mode.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, you thought the tones were hard before.
Yeah, exactly. And like when I mentioned the Chinese person that I've met during New Year's Eve before. And she was also so we kind of talked like in Mandarin just a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as my skills go anyway, and I noticed that like some of the things she was saying, I kind of talked it over with my Chinese teacher, and it turned out like a lot of those words are like, it's very typical for like a native Mandarin speaker to just throw in random Cantonese words into the like everyday Mandarin.
Wow.
And it annoys the crap out of me, because like it's like, okay, why can't I understand it? It's clearly Mandarin. Like, why can't I? And it's like, oh, it's Cantonese. Why is that Cantonese and Mandarin? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like some things are obvious, like a jiayo, for example.
Whoa, but, yeah. I mean, one of the one thing that I found quite interesting is that I got this like a Chinese manga because I wanted like a comic to read.
Oh yeah.
And on the front it says Nigan hold ma. Hold being HOLD in all caps. So it basically means like, can you take it? Like, are you strong enough? Like, can you hold it? It's just, it's very, very bizarre. Like the things that you, like the words that you see, Piggies.
That's the thing that's really frustrating to me is I have like, there's some really cool Chinese manhwas and also animes out there.
Yeah, there definitely are.
Yeah, and they're much better than anything like the Japanese industry puts out, in my humble opinion.
I cannot compare. For me, I like some, I like others. It just like it's like Coats and Ladders again.
Okay, fair.
There was another language thing that yes, I remember now. And just a little funny thing that I remember happening when I was in China. I went to go and get like a cold tea from this place. And so I went in and like I ordered it because like these tea places, like there's so many options to go through. Like you don't just say I want a lemon tea. You're like, I want a lemon tea. I want it with like you pick like what level of sweetness you want and like what level of like all these different things that you want. And so like I placed my order through and said everything that I wanted, and then at that point he just goes, "Hey, sir," and I went, like, sorry, excuse me, like in Chinese, and then he goes, "I sir," and I was thinking, well, I was thinking I means love, and sir means death. What the fuck is this guy saying to me? And I went, and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't understand you, again in Chinese, and then he went, "I sir, do you want ice?" And I was like, "Oh, you're asking me if I want fucking ice?" Jesus. And then I just asked him in Chinese, "Are you asking me if I want ice?" He went, "Yeah." For God's sake. Like, wow. I know you saw the white guy and thought this was the time to flex your English, but I'm sorry, it just didn't work. I thought you were threatening me. Do you love death? Fuck. I just wanted a lemon tea. Now all this.
It's not the best segue when you're ordering a drink.
Yeah. Like, do you want some death with your drink?
That's very metal.
Just a teensy bit of death, don't overpower it.
You still need to get through the day,
Yeah. Though, but another one thing, that I'm gonna like circle way back. My gay friend that went to the same place in China as I did, because again, like he was having to deal with this whole idea of queerness being seen as a purely Western thing, and because he was always like very comfortable with who he was, he like had so many guys come out to him because it was the only time they'd met someone who was okay with being gay. And that's was so weird. But also there, despite this, it's just a Western thing, like these gay clubs do exist because shock horror, it isn't just a Western thing, and there is a market for gay people everywhere. And the one thing that they say apparently when you're in there is, "Are you a 1 or a 0?" Which is a very a slightly more graphic way of asking if you're a top or a bottom.
Oh no.
It's a realization.
It's literally binary.
It's literally binary. And I remember my mate going like, "I hate it because it's like trying to turn us into like a heterosexual relationship. Like it's basically like, are you the man or the woman?
Are you the picture or the catcher?"
Yeah, and it's like, well, no, like especially as it's like not all gay sex is like that. It's just queer sex is far more varied and different to cis het, and I know that I'm biased in saying that, but I really do think it's the case, just because what works and what doesn't work is just that kind of sounds varied,
that kind of sounds like a worthwhile topic to explore for like a separate episode.
Yeah, definitely. Kinds of sex. Number 1, doggy style.
Fucking dial list.
You go, right, now today we're going to be looking at the Kama Sutra. 4, look at that one then, lads. Here we go. Thank you for listening to CritCast.
I don't think that will be the right episode for me, because I wouldn't get very far. I don't have a very interesting sex life.
I don't think this was the vision for the podcast.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Also, doggy style. I guess it kind of harkens back to the fox avatar. But,
yeah, that's the only dogs we got going on. The foxes or wolves.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
But yeah, I wonder if we just need more of a perspective on the Korean aspect, maybe.
Well,
and then we have all South Asian.
Yeah.
South Asian covered,
Also Thai. It would be interesting to look at Thai because
Thai.
of course Thailand is kind of known for having more accessible treatments for for transitioning. But at the same time, there is this huge real transphobia despite this, that trans women can be arrested for entering beauty contests with cis women. Because the idea is I think there is this sort of activist, I believe her name is Noi, I can't remember, and I feel bad for not remembering, but she was in the Thai pop group Venus Flytraps, I believe, and so she has moved on to talk about just what being trans is like, and how her journey has been and what attitudes have been. And she was entering these beauty contests for trans women, and she got to a point where she was like, why are we being separate? Why can't I just see if I'm as beautiful as cis women? Like, why do we have to have our own separate category? And she entered a cis beauty contest, entering as a cis woman when she was a trans woman, and she did get arrested. It's just
arrested.
She got arrested, not just kicked out. Arrested,
not just evicted from the contest or whatever. Just arrested.
Yeah, arrested.
So that becomes a government issue then.
Exactly. So while
that's scary.
So while people talk about and I don't like this phrasing, but the Thai lady boy, which is just it's a terrible phrasing. It isn't actually, just because certain treatments are accessible doesn't mean that it's friendly.
Especially I think that also that's also kind of similar to how people look at Japanese culture when they're really into anime. And,
oh god,
you do get a lot of people who they are exclusively into manga and anime, and they're whoa, well, Japanese seems like this amazing country where everybody is just really girly and really androgynous, and everybody's open to being gay and all that sort of stuff. But it doesn't exactly work like that, I don't think.
Yeah. That's also kind of where a lot of the transphobic idea comes in, that all trans men were just we fangirls because we saw a soft boy relationship, or we're I want to be part of that. Guess it's time to get a beard. Because
that's something I hate so much. You see that a lot of. I was scared of mentioning TERFs again, but
they always
a lot of TERFs do. A lot of TERFs do mention that a lot. Well. Trans men, they're always just soft boys. I'm open for that, and that, fuck off.
Yeah, I mean...
trans men are not your soft boy lesbian.
Yeah, I mean...
Screw you. And especially if you view trans men like that, I don't think they would want to get into a relationship with a transphobe like that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. In that, another small shameless plug, but in my last video where I review a gender critical gentleman, the whole thing is that he is just ranting for ages about how he isn't attracted to trans men, and how it doesn't matter who the vagina's attached to. If there's a vagina there, he cannot get hard, and that's just it, and I'm sorry, and all that. And it's why do you think I want to shag you? You're an angry old man shouting about how you think I'm ugly. That's not exactly attractive to me. And the thing is that I spoke about that, and I was reviewing it, and I was going, look, you can't say cis men aren't attracted to trans men, because I am very much aware from the cis men that have not attacked me, that would be a bit graphic, that have contacted me to say they are attracted to me. There we go. That was what I meant to say.
But for some reason, these men, and women too, I guess.
Yeah.
They always think that they're like super like wanted in the like in the marketplace, so to say.
Absolutely.
Like they always think that everyone wants to bang them, you know, like
Right,
like
yeah.
like they're super sought out, you know, and like it's like they always paint this picture as if like trans people are just like they can't get enough of like of the hot cis men, you know. Whereas like it's like they just can't they don't have enough sticks to beat the trans people off of them or something, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
but
that
the
is
reality
just it.
is
Yeah, that is just it. When I responded to this video saying, look, I don't need to ask cis men if they're attracted to me. They have come to me. They have kind of made comments about how I'm a great big sexy bear. You know, I'm very aware that there are cis gay men that are attracted to me. And then, that was my response. And then in the comments, it's like, oh, facts don't care about your feelings. Sorry, but your fetish for gay men isn't going to make them attracted to you. And it's like that, like, I wouldn't mind if they were because I'm in a relationship. But they are. Yeah. That's the fucking point. You know? And the fact that it just shows that they weren't watching it. They just saw, oh, this trans man is angry that this gay man isn't attracted to him. And that's all they saw. And they weren't looking at what was actually being said. And incidentally, like, I did actually have a look at this guy's other videos because I was like, is this just misguided, or, you know, has he shown support for trans people before? And he did that thing exactly that you were mentioning earlier, that he was saying that we should humour trans people by calling them the correct pronoun, but I don't agree with the fact that I'm transphobic for wanting to fuck a man with a dick. Like, no, it's like, okay, mate.
You get a lot of the same type of comments on CritFacts videos too. It's like I bet there's gonna be a few of those underneath this.
I can't
very
wait.
Podcast.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. But like I remember like some of the like the video I shared with you, like the Know Your Transphobes one.
Yeah.
I think that also has like a bunch of comments from people saying like they just rant off about like, oh, the evil TRAs and their censorship this and then what,
forcing penises upon lesbians.
Like, yeah, they have something on their mind, and it's just like, yeah, they want to get that. They have like just transphobia on their brain or something, and that's all yeah. Absolutely. Their vision is just yeah.
Well, it's
they
like
can't see straight anymore.
They can't see straight anymore. Well, it's like when they were going, you know, oh, I'm a lesbian and I'm against trans women because, you know, I shouldn't be told that I'm transphobic because I don't want to have sex with a penis and and it'll all like sort of go back to, I won't accept trans women because they're not women that I would personally be attracted to.
And besides that, like, not every trans woman is gonna have a penis. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like the whole thing is just like so presumptuous, you know. And like, and also even if they do have one, you know, the way that they have sex most likely won't involve. I mean, I'm not saying that there's wrong if it does, but that's just been my experience personally. Is that it's just been a kind of, it's been a dysphoric thing, and you know, it's similar for me in that when the guy was going, you know, I could never be with, you know, I could never put my willy in a vagina, and it's like, well, good, I don't want any in mine. You know, it sounds horrible. You know?
Exactly.
You know, and again, like I said before, it's assuming how we have sex. It's just making assumptions as to who we are. Like he was saying things like, I would probably be attracted to a pre-op trans, using that phrase, pre-op trans woman. And it's like, you're literally making up a trans woman in your head. Like, if you make up a woman that you're attracted to, of course you're going to be attracted to her. Like,
yeah. I would just, There's a lot of trans people living in their heads, that's for sure.
Oh gosh, definitely, definitely, yeah. And yeah, with the comments that you see, it's always proof. Like I'm sure that, like you said, any comments that we'll get under this are they're just gonna prove that they haven't listened. It's gonna be saying things that we've like very easily debunked. Like I said with the whole, you're just mad that men don't want to have sex with you. It's like, I know they do. I wouldn't care if they didn't. Just shut up.
Or the evil TRA is going off again about such misogynists and
yeah.
It's just that they have like such a one-track mind, you know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It's like some people say like they're just bots, but I don't think they're like really serious about it. But then again, whenever I see like those types of comments, I always think to myself like, maybe they are bots, you know, because like everything looks copy pasted. You know, everything just blurs together.
It is
like
obsession.
One big like turfy mud pile.
Well, there was this one recent screenshot that I saw where they were saying that their mother had died and that they wished that they had spent more time with her than obsessing over trans people. And it's like, this is literally how you have decided to spend your life, girl.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Yeah, and she was even saying, I hope it's worth it in the end. And it's like, well, no, because everything that you're saying is just bigotry and it's based on false science as well. Like, that's the thing is that they'll always say that we're against biology, but ignore the fact that all the scientific evidence backs us up, you know.
Yeah, because like I mean, even if there was like no biological like evidence, whatever that would constitute as, even if there was nothing like that to prove the existence or validity of trans people, we would still exist.
Yeah,
you know?
like it's
trans people
1%,
would still be there. Like
1% of the population is still a heck of a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like it's not as if not as if like if they prove like that the transness cannot exist in any sort of biological form. As soon as they can muster that kind of evidence, that trans people will just fade away or something, you know, or just it's like the Avengers, you know, like I don't feel so well,
just turn into jelly.
Yeah,
this is the utopia turf swans. And on trans people turning to jelly in a turf utopia, I think that as we've been talking for a good 70 minutes now, I think we can wrap up. What do you think, Rachel? Was there anything else that you wanted to say? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm still curious, just because we've been because you're very experienced with languages. Are there any like different languages or places that we haven't like covered yet?
Ooh, well, a lot of Europe. There's a lot of Europe that we haven't covered. We haven't really covered German or Spain, but they are very much making efforts to gender neutralify the languge. Mm-hmm. Gender neutralized doesn't sound right. It sounds like we will destroy all gender.
You will submit.
Yeah,
to the trans agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. So we covered Brazil, we covered China, we covered Japan, and we covered the Netherlands as well.
A little bit.
What you spoke about, yeah. I don't. I'm pretty sure that there are different places that I'll be able to cover and think of, because I'm thinking about all the different gender neutral things that I was thinking about before we started recording, and I think I've covered most of them. One thing that I find interesting is that the term queer in Chinese, like it was in LGBT, is the same as the words for comrade. So power.
Oh, really?
Power to the queers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So there's that. In terms of transness, there is there is the phrase like yin yang person in Chinese, which is like
oh, really?
which I quite like, because it's like the two together. But then there is another phrase. I don't remember it exactly, but it is like the somebody who is transition, like a gender change happen person, one of those, know how they structure things in Chinese, like it's basically that. So and that seems far more recent. Before it was just like it was spoken about as a yin yang. So and when I would say, oh, I'm transgender before in Chinese, a lot of Chinese people wouldn't actually know what that meant. So
really?
Yeah, I would have to say, no, and a lot of the time I would just pretend to be cis because it was easier. I just, look, I'm a man, just accept that.
Hopefully that wasn't too excruciating.
No. Well, they gendered me right by the end of it, so that was that was what was important.
As far as you can actually gender people in Chinese.
Exactly.
Spoken anyway.
Yeah.
But if that's it, we could wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm happy to wrap it up.
Like a good idea.
I'm pretty sure we will discover other languagey things to talk about. Because we were going to do different episodes on languages as well, weren't we? Because I know that other people are going to come in and talk about the languages that they know that we haven't covered as well. So it's there's going to be a lot to talk about.
Indeed.
Oh, actually,
well,
I did remember one thing that was quite interesting. I forgot to talk about before.
On.
Sorry. So, in terms of gender-neutral language, one thing that I found really interesting to look at is the subtitles. So, if you find a media with a non-binary person, so the new Star Trek, and look at the subtitles in the different languages and see how they're translating the scene where they come out as non-binary. Because in Portuguese, they translated it kind of correctly. They said the whole, I don't feel like a man or a woman. I've never felt one gender, so I prefer they. They translated that right, but for they put eles, which is plural they, as opposed to elu, which is now being used. Whereas in Spanish, totally got it wrong. They changed it to I feel like I'm more than one person, so therefore I prefer they.
Oh, what?
So yeah. If
that's kind of butchered,
if you are multilingual and you are interested in how transness is explored in different languages, I definitely suggest find a piece of media with trans or non-binary people in it and just have a little look at the subtitles, because those are the people that have been professionally have professionally translated it. It has had to go through various rigorous testing in order to be made the official subtitles. So
one of the problems that I have is like the level I'm at is with Mandarin. It's actually pretty tough. Like I'm fairly okay with just basic stuff. I can hold a really basic conversation, but I would really like to get it at a level where I can comfortably read a comic book or something.
Yeah.
Or follow along in a show or something.
Yeah.
But that's actually really difficult.
With it. Like the boring thing is you got to just stick with it, because with language learning, what I tend to find is that you start and then it's all you learn really fast, all the basics, get it, and then you get to a point where it's okay, level up. And once you get to that point, it's so easy to be it's too difficult now and drop out. But if you just stick with it, eventually you will just get over that hill, and then it'll click. It'll click. That's just my advice.
Well, thanks for the advice.
Yeah, right. So
I'm definitely gonna do that. Because,
I finally got the subtitles bit out of the way, and Fox will probably kill us if we go on for too long, because she's the one that has to edit it all.
No, that's fine. I mean, we've done an episode of 2 hours before, so cool. That's no problem.
Okay, perfect. Well,
but well, but then again, I also don't want to exhaust the topic too much if we've been talking about it, because you can always. You can only talk so much about one subject, I suppose.
Yeah, well, language is ever changing, and this is going to come up again. So
probably yes, and we'll be there again in the future. Then,
and then you can hear us talk crap about language again.
Yes, and maybe flex a little.
And check out our channels. Yeah. So.
So I wanna plug your channel quickly.
Yeah, sure. So if you just have a look at CuppaJoey on YouTube, I am the only one with that name. I bloody well hope so, at least. And it's the same big fat trans guy with a pink background. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm fat, I'm trans, and I take the piss. And if that gives you a chuckle, then have a little look.
Okay, and in my case, I stream almost every day. I try to stream every day, but I want to be a little bit reasonable with like in case I get sick or something or whatever. But I stream almost every day on Twitch. You can find me at under the name Rachel Plays Stuff, just one word. And I'm also on Twitter under the username @thewolfspirit1.
Yep.
And I hope you stick around for the next episode.
Yep.
We'll probably have new guests, new subjects. Oh, and if you have like something to add to this topic, we'd always be keen to read what you have to say. What is your experience with like different languages and gender? Just the concept of gender.
Yeah,
Did you have
absolutely.
any trouble coming out in different languages? Like,
have you found,
really
especially if you don't speak English as a first language as well, like there are a lot of people that talk about their language online, but when it comes to talking with their family, it can be difficult to get that meaning across. So if you have any experiences with that, then we would love to know in the comments. Like, please just like let us know your experiences with this.
Yeah, that would be really interesting and definitely worth reading.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode of CritCast.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Ta-ra.